everyone. We are here with writer director Scott Walker. He is the man behind the new film coming out called The Tank, that is in limited theatrical release on April 21st and online on the 25th. Scott, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Good to meet you. Thank you for having some time for me.
No, it's my pleasure. Can you tell us about the film The Tank?
It's I've been living in the US for 13 years or so. I have a couple of sons born there, and we came back to New Zealand right at the same time that COVID started. And so after basically getting stuck here, which was a great place to be stuck, a friend said, go and stay in my old house that I'm doing up, and it's built on a big water tank. And we ran out of water, and I climbed down into the tank, and that started the nightmares about creatures coming out and eating us all at night, which obviously they didn't. But it started me thinking, and I was working with Richard on another this big action werewolf comedy, and I was like, I think this could be something that's going to happen really fast. What do you think of it? And he just loved it. He just, he said, when I was a kid, I had similar tank nightmare experiences of having to go into tanks. So I totally get it. And, he really was excited about this intention I wanted, which was to do a classic creature feature monster movie. No CGI, do it the way they used to be done, with all the tricks in camera, and have a fully practical suit with a performer inside, and then put them through the absolute ringer in terms of, I wanted as much freedom to have full physical fight scenes with stunt guys, and half of those be underwater. And so bringing all of that together was like, that became the story, and being fantastic to, Richard and his team at Weta are amazing. So it's been a dream from that.
Are you a creature feature guy?
Yeah, I grew up, I don't know if you call it creature feature, but classic monster movies. When I was really young, I was a huge fan of Christopher Lee, Dracula, the Wolfman, those types of universal horror. And that was that's all I ever thought about and dreamed of, being able to buy mail order catalog masks and stuff. And then films like American Werewolf and The Howling, and there's a lot that could be achieved practically that was really exciting. And the tank's low budget, so there was a limitation anyway. But I also really wanted that physicality of being able to have the actors actually interact with and fight, be attacked by something, so that's where all of that came from.
Where was the shoot and when?
I shot the whole thing in New Zealand. We wrapped last January, and shot it all on the West Coast, near Auckland, for the exteriors, and then a forest nearby for the forest sequences. And then obviously the tank doesn't exist. We built an enormous tank that I wanted modeled after Dracula's castle crypt if it was flooded.
Wherever appropriate.
Exactly. And so we shot it fast, and but everyone was here in New Zealand. But I wanted it, it's set in Oregon, but we had a great production design team here who did a phenomenal job on the sets and the constructing this enormous tank that held together, which was good. So yeah, all here.
Yeah, well, New Zealand is a huge place for movies. I mean, everybody's shooting there, so I mean that makes sense. Are you there right now? Is that where you're at?
I'm currently here for a bit longer, it's a good place to be. We're about to roll into winter, so.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm noticing your surfboard in the background, and it's just like, well, first of all, do you surf?
Yeah, I do. Actually, that one, that I don't use that one very much. I actually bought that in Venice when we were living there. But now it's memorabilia.
Very cool. What's so funny to me, because obviously, there's the tank, and the monster is a water-based monster. But personally, I I'm more comfortable in the open ocean than I am in a lake I mean, like, is that do you have any fears of like the ocean
Well,
or
like
water or anything like
over
that?
exaggerated fear of sharks. Yeah, I think I do. I think what for this, it was more of a fear of something you can't fully see, and it's dark, and you're in a very low claustrophobic place. One of the scariest films, and one of my favorite films is The Descent.
Ah,
And
yes.
just that sense of, before you even bring the creatures into it, there's no way I personally would want to be going into that sort of cave system. And,
You mean the
so
uncharted kind?
what's that?
You mean the uncharted kind?
Yeah, exactly. No way out. And I think that was kind of I wanted, a nod to that sort of, but that sense of claustrophobia. And also, I watched The Descent and go, there is no way I would go in there. And the same with the tank. Even the one that we built was a bit like, are you sure you want to go into that in the cave system? And because it felt very real.
Mm,
Very cool. Had a few good swims in it, but it was the scary places. And I like that idea that you can use that and the remoteness of the place and the epicness of the landscape and how tiny you are in it, and the sort of sense of, there is no power at this house, so there's no lights, there's nothing that works, you're just candlelight. And it's like a old haunted house film for the first half, and you're using all of that to create suspense and fear and tension to hold off revealing the creature as long as possible.
yeah. Well,
So
I mean that's always the best way to go, just
yeah,
string people along.
yeah.
Let's talk about the creature design without giving too much away, if you don't mind. Um, what kind of what kind of look were you looking for? What were the rules you were going for, and who developed the final look?
Well, so because of the sort of, I think a lot, this whole idea of, in the time of instability of COVID and what's going to happen, and in a way, it was, to me, felt very much like nature, Mother Nature, maybe rebalancing what we've done in destroying the planet, and which is a sort of an interest. I find that a fascinating theme, and so to me, the creature first and foremost was female, as sort of like a symbolic Mother Nature. So when Richard and I and the team first started talking about creature design, I said, it's not masculine, it's not big and bulky, it's not predatorish, it's not 7 foot tall and muscular. It's smaller, it's lithe, it lives underground, it can slither through cracks, but it's an apex predator. The other important thing was, it's of this earth. It's not an alien species that's crashed here, and so everything about it had to come from some. Yes. And so that sort of gave us the starting one. The second thing is that it's not bipedal. So it's not standing on 2 legs. It's not humanoid like in The Descent. This is reptilian. So that means it's got to be on four legs. And we need a performer who has the muscular strength to be in that position and then still crawl, walk, leap, which is very, very rare. And you're usually talking dancers or gymnasts or contortionists. And Richard, the very first person that he brought in for a casting session, is the very first person we cast, was amazing woman, Regina, who's probably under 5 foot. She's a contortionist and works in the circus. But I wasn't interested in terms of her contortion ability. It was her strength to be in a position where her elbows are higher than her shoulders, her knees are higher than her hips, and she can crawl over a couch or furniture like a tarantula.
Mm.
And so the concept designs which we had come up with prior to that, going in that direction, then needed to be mapped on top of 3D scans of her body. So how do we then, and things then had to be adjusted, like in the creature design, the neck was slightly longer. And so there were limitations then of the human body, which you can't change without severely limiting maneuverability.
Mm.
So those sort of things all came together, and actually came together really quickly after I'd written my sort of PhD thesis on the creature and said, this is exactly what it is and what it isn't. And here's some reference. And it was a few backwards and forwards with Weta of them turning those words into, does it look like this? And we got there really, really quickly. And some of the first concept drawings they did were 80% of what the creature is now.
Wow.
And so that was a really exciting process. And then really, with creatures, they're they then become detailed. So, you've got the side jaws, and I wanted this kind of hair which runs all down its back, because those are sort of membranes from when it was living in water. And then really building within the practicalities of, this is going to be a puppet, or this is going to be a suit. This is the second head, which can do less, but someone can put their head in it and
Wow.
throw it around.
So
And then
cool.
there's a stunt head, and so so that was kind of the process, and then eventually you start building it, painting it, choosing color, texture, what viscosity of slime comes out its nose, out its mouth, all the good fun stuff.
All the fun decisions.
Yeah, exactly, the important stuff.
So, what makes a good creature feature? What are the ingredients that need to be there for it to be a phenomenal movie?
I think first and foremost, it's like any movie. It's got to be character, people that you care for and you want to follow into this world and feel the fear and trepidation of them, but also they're interesting people and you can relate to them. And then obviously the creature needs to be unique and different, and have an idea of where it comes from. For me, I wanted to build out the hypothetical, if there was a prequel, what would that look like? If there was a sequel, what would that look like? So that the sort of, and snippets of that is in the film when they are reading the history of the area, going back 100 years. What could have happened back then that would have been related to the creature. So the creature feels like it has a proper grounded real history. The other thing which I personally like, which is why we did this, was originally the creature was just that. And I wanted that not to be the final reveal. I wanted this sort of feeling of like that to be an extra element of, okay, you think you've seen the creature, but now it can do something more. And it was and so that's when Richard and I started talking about hagfish and their jaws which come out, and could we use that kind of concept to lean into, if this was a ambush predator, it doesn't have claws that can dig in, it's got claws that are more for just holding. So how does it kill? And so we started playing around with this idea of additional sets of jaws. So I think that's, and at the end of the day, it's got to be a creature feature. It's just got to be a great roller coaster of fun and scares and tension, and ultimately not looking like anyone's going to survive.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really do appreciate it. And everyone, The Tank, it comes out April 21st, limited theatrical release, and it releases online April 25th. Scott, it was an absolute pleasure. Come back with another project when you have it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Great to meet you.
You too, man. Bye.